Welcome to
House of Whimsical Terror.
I'm Esther.
I'm Mary.
And we're coming to you today from Tucson, Arizona.
And we're telling real stories of the fantastical.
All of our stories are true or told to us as true.
Occasionally we alter names to protect privacy.
And we do the same with some of the places.
Yes.
And today we are so lucky.
Very special.
We have my uncle, my Tio Ted is here.
Yes.
Ted Ramirez, who is also a very, very amazing musician.
Absolutely.
And also the official troubadour of Tucson, where we are from.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
You guys are making me get shy.
We're just saying all things about you that are true.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it very much.
And you are such a brilliant storyteller. One of the things that I love and friends and family love is when we go see you perform and you tell the stories of place or of the music or of the people around the music. And you are a brilliant storyteller. And you're also married to my Dia, my aunt, who is also a brilliant storyteller. And she's in the room with us. She is the person who first made me love scary stories. She used to scare pardon my language, scare the hell out of me when I was young out on the porch. So, what we are here today to listen to, though, is, Dio, you told us a story once. You were performing at the Gadsden Hotel in Douglas, Arizona, which is famous for Pancho Villa supposedly riding in through the front doors on his horse and going up the stairs. They say there's a chip out of one of the beautiful marble stairs.
Yes.
That his
horse took it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, chipped the stairs. And the stairs are underneath that beautiful Tiffany mosaic, that magnificent stained glass of the Sonoran Desert. It's really, it's both a cultural and, as far as a heritage site of Arizona, it's just an extraordinary location.
It's an amazing place for sure. It was built in, I think, 1907, and it was named after the Gadsden Purchase, which was the land sale between the U.S. and Mexico after the war with Mexico. And it was part of the U.S. expansion of the railroad from the East Coast to the West Coast. So they wanted to build a very grand hotel to invite the rest of the country to travel on the rails and come to southern Arizona on their way to California. So it was built in a way that was just meant to attract wealth and people. And its architecture was by a very famous architect at the time. As he said, they have Tiffany glass all over. One wall is completely covered in a desert motif created in the Tiffany tradition, as are the skylights.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah. And they have Italian white marble columns and stairways. The staircase that you mentioned contains a famous story of Pancho Villa. He was one of the many people from different eras who were very famous, and he definitely was one. So him coming to Douglas and riding his legendary horse, it was named Siete Leguas, 7 leagues.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And there's lots of music and poetry and songs that tell the story of Pancho Villa and his horse. And one of them, kind of a lesser known one, is the one that happened in Douglas there at the Gadsden Hotel. So he apparently came in on his horse through the front doors and proceeded up to the mezzanine level, the second floor. And this staircase is just gorgeous. It's fairly large. It's got to be maybe 15, 20 feet across at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of scallops up and flares up to the second level, to the mezzanine level, which is where the mural is. And all these things were there when he came through. And this was the original hotel. The hotel burned down in, about 1925 or something like that.
Oh,
and then it was rebuilt. But this was prior to that fire when he came through, supposedly. And the chip that you talk about is the seventh step from the bottom.
Oh.
And Siete Leguas stumbled a little bit. Not stumbled, but just was trying to get his footing and hit the edge of the stair and chipped it. And they just left it. They never repaired it. And there's a lot to tell about, what happened after the fire and stuff. But Pancho Villa is one of the famous stories. I don't know which room he slept in. I don't think anybody does anymore. But there are stories from every era. And, the hotel had, I don't know exactly when it started, but, it started to get this reputation of strange sounds and people experiencing paranormal phenomenon. Mm-hmm. And, these stories kind of developed. And when I stayed there, I was kind of new to that. I didn't realize that was part of the tradition of the Gadsden. I knew that it was, a luxury hotel, I guess you would say, a very classic architecture in southern Arizona. But those stories I didn't realize until I happened to play there. We had a couple of concerts there. And I listened to a bunch of stories from people who worked there, and some of the guests had, at concert attendees, had stories about it that they shared, and then had my own experience after that. But after digesting the whole thing, I kind of started to put together maybe a little timeline of how, or at least in my mind, how it started to become known as a somewhat haunted or haunted place. And it has a tavern in it, and the tavern still exists. And so cowboys, miners, business people, locals would come and frequent the establishment in the evenings. And there was this one particular cowboy that was almost always there. He was a fairly tall guy and very gregarious. Everybody knew him and liked him. And there was a young lady who fell in love with him, kind of at a distance at first. But as she got to know him, and he got to know her a little bit better, they started to become more than just friends. But it didn't end very well. In the end, he kind of just rejected her and didn't want anything to do with her. And so she was staying in the hotel the night that this happened. And so the story goes that she was so upset that she left the tavern, the little bar, in tears, just totally distraught. And she went up. At that time, all the levels of the hotel were open, and her room was on the third floor. So I don't know if she took the stairs or if she went up. They had an elevator. That was one of the modern characteristics of the hotel. I think it was the only one in Arizona that had an actual self-operated elevator, which is still there and still operational. So she went one or the other up to the third floor, went to her room. Her room number is 333. And currently, for many years now, that floor has been closed.
Yeah.
You can't rent a room up there. There's rumors I heard that may change sometime in the future. There's a new owner who's thinking about opening it up.
Oh,
but anyway, she went up to her room, and people heard her crying, and there was kind of a ruckus in the room, and maybe she was throwing things around. She was very distraught. And then I'm not sure exactly what happened after that, but she committed suicide in that room.
Yeah.
So it seems like that's when the stories started to come out. Most of the stories you hear about, seeing things or hearing things in the hotel kind of have that, that date or that time as their, starting point. So it kind of makes sense to me, because before that it was just thought of as just a very elegant place. Mm-hmm. But after that suicide, which was, very well reported and was very disturbing to the town and everybody, and that's when these stories started to come out. So the typical stories, there's many of them. In fact, guests can write their stories down. They have a little book there.
Oh, yeah, we saw that.
Yeah.
In their museum, yeah.
And it's great to read. They let you read them, so you just go through there. And, I saw this on this night, or I heard this noise. And there's all kinds of stories. Some very elaborate, some just a little line or two. But the cowboy, when I don't know how he passed away, but once that happened, one of the stories that came out of that was they started to see him. People would see him appear in different locations, usually late at night. The workers would see him. The people who were cleaning up, after the bar had closed, the hotel, everybody was asleep. They'd see him walk out of the tavern. Or one of the owners told me the story that she was down in the basement of the hotel when she first bought the hotel, and kind of rummaging around. There were a lot of there was artwork down there and furniture and things like that. And she was looking around to see what was there and what she could use. And she turned around and saw a cowboy standing there, and it frightened her very much. And he was kind of in the pathway of the escape route, the door out of the...
So she felt like she was tucked down.
She was kind of trapped.
Oh, yeah.
And so she said she retreated back deeper into the recesses of the basement there, and was trying to figure out what to do, and said she was a pretty bold personality. And she just collected her thoughts and said, "I'm just going to walk out," And so when she did, that person was not there anymore. So she went up to the hotel and talked to her husband and told him what happened. So they went down, did a thorough search to see if somebody was living down there or was hiding down there,
right,
and never found anything. So there are many stories of people who have seen this guy.
Wow.
Kind of just briefly. Many workers, the way they explain it is, you always see it, out of the corner of your eye. Something just passes by and you look and it's not there. So there's a lot of that. And then the sounds, there's all kinds of sounds. There was one lady I spoke with who was on the mezzanine level, second floor. And it was about 2 a.m. She had been asleep maybe 2 or 3 hours. And there was a gunshot that she said was right near her head. It startled her to no end. She jumped out of bed and looked around and was screaming and trying to figure out what happened. And there was nothing. Everything was silent. There was no one in the room. But she heard that sound.
Wow.
Other people had heard screams, people screaming. Some people would say words like, "Get out of my way," things like that. And this all kind of started to gain a little momentum during the time that there was a big fire at the hotel. It burned it down, as a matter of fact. And this was in like 1925, something like that. And they rebuilt it. It took them a couple of years, 2 or 3 years to rebuild it. And they put it all back together. You know, the staircase is there, all the elevator is there, the front desk is there. All kinds of things from the original hotel are there, all the tiles. The only thing they did different is put the entrance in a different location because they wanted it on G Street, which is the biggest, it's kind of the main thoroughfare there.
That's interesting because that entrance is a little awkward to the hotel. Like it never really feels like...
It feels a little strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robin used to ride her Harley Davidson in the way to mimic Pancho Villa's entrance. She had a big Harley, so she would ride that Harley into the... She was a real character. She's a great person. So there were a lot of, and what started me asking around really is what happened to me. We were there, we were playing, we stayed the night there. They were having a big kind of festival the following day. We had a concert one night, and then the following day they had a big fair. And it was kind of an air show, Douglas style. So private pilots brought their airplanes and, airplanes they had built and some classic ones, and they would put on a show for the town. It was really cool. Robin's husband was a pilot, and so he was flying in it. And so that evening, after the concert, a couple of guys in the band went into the tavern to have a few drinks and play some songs. And I was super tired, so I went to bed. I stayed on the second floor. And, it's just a typical historic kind of place. It's big, thick walls and old-style doors with old-style locks and, just really kind of simple and plain looking. It's nothing super striking about the rooms or anything. They're really clean and comfortable and quiet. Mm-hmm. And so I, started reading a book and fell asleep. And I was awakened by the sound of a child crying, an infant basically crying. And so I listened for a while and thinking, someone's going to come get the baby or whatever, and they're going to move the baby or whatever would stop. But it didn't stop. So this went on for a while, I would say like 20 minutes. I thought, man, this is ridiculous, So I went to the door, and it was then that I started to hear like furniture moving. Like the lobby's big, and they have a lot of couches and chairs down there. And it was like the cleaning crew was moving the furniture to mop, something like that. And when I opened the door, I stopped hearing the baby cry. So I walked to the rail of the mezzanine and looked down, and I was going to ask whoever was working down there if they had heard the baby crying. But there was nobody there. The furniture was still. There was nobody down there. I went down and talked to the guy at the front desk, and I said, "Did you hear a baby crying? Was there a baby crying?" He goes, "No." He said, "I've been here the whole time. I didn't hear anything." I said, "Well, was there a cleaning crew down here or something?" He goes, "No." So I didn't think too much about it. I just, figured I was hearing things or, there's nothing you could do about it. So the following days when I started to talk to people about it, and that's when I heard that they had a little journal there a little book that people could sign and tell their stories. Mm-hmm. And so he hands it to me. He goes, "Well, tell your story,
Yeah.
So that's that's pretty much all that I have to say about the Gadsden. It's the hotel itself is a great place. It has a lot of authentic history to it. It has a lot of legend to it, but it also has a lot of authentic Arizona history to it. It's really a special place.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
And I think it'll probably be around for a long time. It's under new ownership now, and I've heard nothing but good things about the new owners. And the owners that I knew were fantastic. You know, you have to have kind of a love for architecture and history to get interested in getting in the business of running a hotel like the Gadsden. So they're usually people who know what they're doing. And if you're ever down in Douglas, Arizona, in southern Arizona, it's a little border town with Agua Prieta is the town in Mexico. I really encourage you to stop in there and spend a night or two.
Oh, yeah.
I can't guarantee you're going to hear anything strange, because I would think most people probably don't. But if you do, they have a book you can write it down in.
Yeah, we were there back in 22.
Yeah.
I think, and we were hoping something would happen. We did. There's that. It's kind of a outside balcony that overlooks the street. You were on that at one point?
Yeah, that was the floor that I was on. It's the second floor, basically. Yeah. And that's the only, I think, room that, I guess they have some down on the first floor and the second floor only. Rooms available. I know,
we wanted to go up to the third floor, but we
were trying to find it.
Well, we did, but then it said you can't.
And then yeah. We found the funny little door with the shamrock that affirmed that you were leaving.
Yeah, I was waiting to hear about Ireland, if I was going to be able. He was going, and it was completely clean. Like, this hotel was completely clean, and there was one door. Like, there weren't like trash or markings or anything. But on this one strangely shaped door, it was more of an arch door instead of square. Like, everything in there is a little squared off. Door. At the very, very top of it, like too high for a child to put, was a little shamrock sticker.
A shamrock sticker. Oh. You were waiting to hear.
I was waiting to hear. I didn't know yet. And Mary goes, You're going
to Ireland. Because she had told me about the Gadsden and how she would go down to the Gadsden to write, right? And then she was waiting for her Fulbright application for Ireland. And I was like, well, let's go down there. I want to stay in the hotel. And so she took me and showed me all the things. And what a magnificent, magnificent thing. The stained glasses. It was breathtakingly beautiful. And the hotel itself as well.
It's gorgeous.
So yes, of course,
beautiful.
The first thing we do is we're like, where can we go that we're not supposed to be? Third floor.
We didn't go. I wanted to so bad.
We didn't. We probably could have, but we didn't. Which was shocking. Because I would have.
We did.
But you were there.
The bartender... We went to the bar at night, and the bartender told us some really strange things happened in the basement.
Yes.
Like people would go down there and would hear, like, as though someone else was out down there with them moving, bottles around, and, when they would go to get stuff for the bar, and know that they were the only one down there, but it sounded like someone was there with them, like working beside them.
She said she ended up being like the only person that would go down to the basement to wash dishes after they closed, because no one else would go and do it. And she was like, I'll just do it. So, and I guess she didn't respond to a lot of the things that she heard when she was down there.
She would just ignore it and keep working.
But I love that. So we're there, wandering around, and we see this door, and we saw that shamrock, and I looked at Esther and I go, you're going to Ireland? Like, who even put this sticker? Okay, and it's also like October when we're there or something. It's cold. I remember I was wearing a scarf, and so it's not like near St. Patrick's Day in March, right? It's like, who put this sticker there? It was really remarkable. It's like and I was like, the hotel is just affirming, like, all the writing you've done here.
Yeah, it's not the kind of place you'd find, like, stickers on the door.
Yeah, kid sticker.
Yeah, like,
so weird.
It was really clean and well kept.
But it was a message to you from the Gadsden. Yes. And Arizona itself, as you mentioned, I mean, they have the Gadsden, which is remarkable, but you could do an entire tour of Arizona, just old haunted hotels, right? There's the Copper Queen, there's the Cochise in Cochise, Arizona. in Wilcox. Not Wilcox. There's in what?
What? I'm sorry, I'm interrupting, Mary. For those of you who can't see us, keep talking. But I was just remembering when we were. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll just tell it. Was it that trip? We were leaving Douglas, and we decided to look at some of the ghost towns around, like Ruby and some of the other places.
Yeah, we went to all of them.
And we were doing, so Mary and I do car karaoke when we're on long trips, and we just sing and sing and sing. And we were on this one road, and we couldn't get internet, no data on our phones.
Yeah.
So we just thought, well, let's find, some stations. There's got to be like some country station, those really old songs that everybody knows.
Yeah.
So we thought, so let's do that. Well, all of a sudden there's just static. There's nothing on the radio. And then, do you remember, all of a sudden there's like this really old sound coming, like I'm talking old, like 1920s, 1930s, not even 40s, like before that. The sound is coming over the radio, almost like things you only hear in music boxes now.
Like the famous trumpet.
Yes, very similar.
So that happened that trip.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I totally.
Because that's all right. If you drive through the Arizona desert, you never know what's going to happen, right?
That's true.
But there are a lot of really beautiful historical hotels in Arizona. It could be an entire ghost trip for somebody.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved the Gadsden, and I definitely will go back, and I recommend it as well to anyone who's curious about the history of Arizona and fabulous architecture and hotels, railroad hotels.
Yeah, it really stands out.
It does. It's really special. All right.
Theo, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We're hoping you will come back and be a guest again.
Yeah. And
anytime.
And
thank you.
Thank you.
We are so grateful to have you here.
Oh, thank you. It's an
amazing.
honor to be on your podcast. I've listened to it, and it's fantastic, and I know it's growing. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to come back anytime.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. That's good.
And thank you to our listeners. Please, you come back as well and listen to more stories and share them with your friends. But for now, so long, good friends. Until next time, when we meet back at the house.